My name is Dalia Salibi, and this will be a documentary for my CAST project, and it's very dear to my heart because it's about Lebanon, a tiny country in the Middle East. It's right next to Syria, and it's where my whole family is from, and it's my ethnicity. And because my whole family lives there, we have to go there twice a year, and it's a really great place. It's really beautiful. So I wanted to share just some random, cultural tidbits, just kind of, what my life is like when I have to visit there. And I think it'll be a little bit different from what you expect, and such an interesting contrast to a lot of other cultures in the world. It doesn't really get a lot of representation. What I hope to do with making this documentary is just to educate people a little bit about a side of Lebanon that you don't really see represented, especially here in America, unless you have connections there. Don't expect a professional documentary. This is the first documentary I've ever made, but it's very dear to my heart, and hopefully you'll learn something. Enjoy.
And here we drive to the outskirts of Beirut.
There you go, there you go.
It's like a discovery channel.
Look, it's a wild tree. First of all, I interviewed my family members about what they thought was special about Lebanon. And then I asked them what they thought that tourists missed when they saw there.
Déjà, géographiquement, il a une place très, très spéciale. Le Liban, il est tout à fait à la pointe de la Méditerranée. Il est en contact avec tout l'Orient et avec tout l'Occident.
C'est ni à l'est, ni à l'ouest. C'est un peu au milieu. C'est ni occidental, ni oriental. C'est un mélange des deux.
Et comme ce n'est pas un pays isolé, c'est un pays qui est en relation avec son entourage, tout ce qu'il y a autour se reflète à l'intérieur et ça fait des conflits, des guerres à l'intérieur, etc. Mais en même temps, ça fait une immense richesse humaine et culturelle. C'est un pays, tout petit pays, où tu as des Bédouins et des gens qui sont presque américains, des gens qui sont très européens, des gens qui sont très arabes, des gens qui sont très chrétiens, des gens qui sont très musulmans. Tout ça se trouve ici, mais très proches les uns des autres, dans un tout petit endroit, et ce n'est pas une unité. C'est extraordinaire.
لما زارنا البابا جون بول 6 قال انه لبنان هو نوع من ما في منه، لانه تعايش كثير حضارات، تعايش كثير اديان، وانه لازم يكون مثل للعالم حتى ما حاج بقى يقتلوا بعضهم لاسباب دينيه. عندنا 18 طائفه، كل طائفه عندها نوع من الاستقلال بتدير امورها. هذا البلد الوحيد بالمنطقه اللي برمضان بيشرب واحد الكحول اذا هو بده وين ما كان ببيروت، ما حدا بيقول له شيء، وفي انفتاح. هالشيء ما بتلاقيه بغير مطرح.
Lebanese people are very, very aware of the cultural diversity of the country and how just rich the culture has become thanks to that. But even though there are so many cultural differences among certain groups of people, they learn to live in harmony. I've never seen this in any other country that I've been to, but I definitely think that it's something that people should pick up. Rather than criticizing them, learn to live in harmony with them, and Lebanon does that beautifully.
Things that look very, very Western, where you feel like you could be in Manhattan or LA, and then you go to areas where you feel you're really in an underdeveloped third world country.
This is something that my family and I like to call the Lebanese contrast. It's that there's so many things in Lebanon that look so new, but right next to those things that look so new, there are so many things that look so old. And it's just amazing to see them next to each other. For example, this is a new museum that was recently built in the heart of Beirut. It does not look at all like what's around it. It looks really futuristic, really developed, and the artwork in there is extraordinary. It's just a really odd thing to see in a place like Lebanon, especially in the area that it's in.
La culture au Liban, contrairement aux autres pays arabes, contrairement à l'Europe, contrairement à ce qui se trouve ailleurs, n'a jamais été programmée par l'État.
It just so happened that when I filmed this documentary, I went to a wedding.
سيباستيان وجانا انتم اليوم ايديكم لانكم صرتوا نحن والروح القدس.
As soon as the vows were done being said, these men came out with these instruments and started playing this great music and getting everybody to dance. They led everybody down to this huge pavilion where there was a huge stage, literally 300 times the amount of food necessary to be able to feed all of us.
There we go.
The extraordinary thing, though, is that this pavilion was literally in the middle of the mountains. It was in the middle of absolute nowhere.
You're like, oh look at all these people. Wow. This looks like it could be in the middle of a city, right? Oh no, in the middle of nowhere. Middle of nowhere. There's a lot of flowers in it because of the wedding.
Yeah, that's the wedding.
Essential part of Lebanese culture is food. Lots of food. It's one of the biggest things that I look forward to whenever I go there, just eating a lot of delicious food. But eating with your family is such a valued experience there. Every meal is meant to be a real bonding experience. In America, it's perfectly okay to split checks with someone. In Lebanon, absolutely not. One person has to pay. My favorite Lebanese meal is called moukhia, and it's stewed greens over rice and meat with pita crisps on top. And it's so good. It's my favorite part. My grandmother makes it for me every time I go there, and it's one of my favorite things. Over the past few times I went to Lebanon, we've seen this falafel joint that my dad said he used to eat at, and it's right next to a big mall that we go to a lot. And my brother and I have always wanted to go there for the past few times that we've seen it because it looked really good. And this time around we finally got to go eat there, and it was really good falafel, let me tell you.
Are you excited for the
They
kibbeh?
have as ideal.
This is one of our favorite places to come to every time we go. It's a tradition, and we get a raw meat dish called kibbeh. It's one of my brother's favorite things to eat, and you can't really get it in America, so he gets really excited every time. And everything there is just so delicious. Eat all the delicious food, and afterwards we all feel like we're gonna die because we're so full. How do you feel?
It's light and very
Zane, how do you feel?
We're good.
And I think it's such a beautiful thing to do, just to have such a bonding culture over food. It was also Ramadan when we went, so I went to an iftar of my grandfather on my mom's side.
Then there's some very ugly things there that happen.
Alors aussi, bon, quand on vient au Liban de l'étranger, on va pas voir les Syriens, on va pas voir les Palestiniens. Ils sont pas cachés, mais ils sont isolés. Ils ne se mêlent pas à la vie, là où il y a les banques, les hôtels, la vie artistique, les cabarets, la nuit, etc.
So there's good and bad in every country. And the bad in Lebanon now happens to be mostly a cause with the war in Syria and with the local government not doing much for the people. Why, if you ask any person who lives in Lebanon about the government, they could go on for hours about how bad it is. But they somehow still enjoy their everyday lives. But the whole life is what you make it thing is absolutely true. Going to Lebanon all the time and seeing the horrible conditions that some people live in, but still how much fun they're having in those conditions, has really proven that to me.
J'aime beaucoup voyager et j'ai beaucoup voyagé, mais je reviens toujours au Liban parce que je crois que le Liban, du moins pour moi, c'est le plus beau pays du monde. Ce qui me manque ici, c'est mon fils et sa famille qui sont loin du Liban.
I grew up there and it still has sort of the same flavors that were there when I grew up.
À mon niveau, ayant vécu à l'étranger pendant 7 ans, j'ai préféré rentrer au Liban que de rester dans un pays européen.
They are really attached to their land.
Ce qui est exceptionnel, c'est la diversité des paysages.
حتى بأوقات معينة من السنة بيكون على الجبل العالي في ثلج وعم بيعملوا سكي وعلى البحر على بعد أقل من ساعة بالسيارة في ناس عم تسبح.
Like my family members said, the diversity in the scenery is actually astonishing. I get astonished by it every single time I go there. A city right next to a forest, a beach right next to a mountain, sun right next to snow. And all these things are possible.
This is the old building, and then it's like future.
Real old building here. It's probably about 80 years old, and then you'll see brand new buildings in just a little bit.
It's right next to that one, which is like growing mold on it.
You can see Beirut right over there. It's just like the wilderness, and then Beirut.
Le peuple libanais ne respecte pas ce paysage et ne fait pas attention au niveau du recyclage, au niveau de l'utilisation de l'eau. On essaye d'éduquer les enfants pour la génération future, avoir un meilleur Liban.
Lebanese have problems with getting electricity and water.
Lebanon doesn't have any running water. Like, it gets refilled every week. So if you use up a lot of it, sometimes there might not be enough left for you to take a shower. But there's another solution. Baby wipes. It's the air conditioning. It says that it's 17 degrees, but it's not. It's freaking hot in here.
Same thing for garbage collection. For the time being, we are just collecting them in mountains and mountains.
Last year, Lebanon's biggest landfill filled up and it had to get closed down, so now the trash is just being collected in piles on the street. It's not as bad as they see it on the news, like there's not one every direction you look. But if you go to some of the more rural areas next to the mountains, there is still a pile here and there. Yeah.
Ce qu'ils ne voient pas, c'est que tous on est cousins dans ce pays. Quand on rencontre un Libanais, on a toujours une relation. Soit c'est l'ami d'un ami, soit c'est l'oncle d'une amie, soit c'est le cousin du cousin du cousin de l'ami.
Every time I go out with my family, whether it's from high school or from an old job, my parents will always see someone and be like, oh my god, I haven't seen you in 30 years.
Une capacité de t'adapter qui est beaucoup plus grande que n'importe quel autre pays. Quoi que tu fasses, si tu le jettes en l'air, il va toujours retomber sur ses pieds.
Whenever things in Lebanon get better, right after they seem to get worse. And I'm always reading the news like, oh my gosh, how is this country gonna get through this? They're already carrying so much debt that they have to take care of, but they somehow do. For instance, in the war, the whole downtown area was destroyed and bombed, but now it's one of the most futuristic places in the entire country. But a place that I really remember going to as a kid was this clock tower right here, populated area about 10 years ago, but now nobody goes near there because the parliament closed it off, because it's next to where the parliament offices are, and like I said before, people hate the government. It's just really weird to come here 10 years later and see that there's nobody in this area that there used to be thriving, and to see that everybody has gone to this completely new place that nobody used to go to because it was dangerous.
C'est une société qui est très difficile et en même temps qui est très hospitalière.
The Lebanese person is such concerned by hospitality that he will never let the tourist feel uncomfortable.
Lebanon is a really teeny tiny country.
Lebanon is very, very, very small and very, very, very weak, that you have much more, at least 3 times more Lebanese outside Lebanon than you can find Lebanese inside the territory of Lebanon. Pourquoi tous ces Libanais ont quitté le Liban? Parce que le Liban était un pays, entre parenthèses, pauvre et qu'ils cherchaient la fortune en Amérique.
My parents actually left Lebanon to come to America for college and just happened to not decide to go back. And a lot of people do decide to do that. But of course, you know, the reason we go back twice a year rather than just shunning the country for the rest of our lives is because we love it there.
There's obviously the food, the fruits and vegetables taste like nothing else in the world.
My grandparents actually have a garden up in the mountains that they always take us to. It's in a little village called Lebanon.
So you have to break these, and the almonds are inside them.
And all kinds of fruits and vegetables go there, from apples to like artichokes.
His fingers are all red.
Don't eat it, this is not good. يمكن خلصنا الموسم السنة بس هلا عم نربي على كعبة هاي بكره بنشيلها بيطلعوا هودي.
You can see the airport runway and you can see a nice view of Beirut. They always go all together and just kind of walk around and see what's growing. Sometimes we harvest some stuff. My grandmother actually gave us fresh cucumbers that had just been harvested out of the garden, and they were probably the best cucumbers I've ever had in my life. And my dad showed us around that area, and I hadn't really been around there before, but he was telling me a lot of backstories, and I just found it really cool because he lived up near that area for a while the war was going on, and it was unsafe to be in Beirut. And he just said, you know, like, oh, we would always come here, we would always go there.
Here.
And I'd never really seen that side to that area. I thought it was just, you know, oh, there's the garden up there.
So you can see there's, traffic. This used to be ours.
The food pizzeria?
No, the gas station.
The gas station used to be.
And there used to be a house above it, but they tore it down.
You've been here a lot?
I used to come here every once in a while.
Do what?
Well, this was a big city. So whenever we wanted to go to the movies,
oh, okay.
we used to come here.
Do you think tourists and foreigners miss or don't see when they visit Lebanon?
Ce qu'ils ne voient pas, c'est que la société quand même est très fermée.
But I do think tourists actually, or foreigners, see a lot more things in Lebanon than locals do, because they have the curiosity, because they'll go and explore areas that some people might never go to. Some people in Lebanon grow up in a neighborhood and never get out of it.
One thing I always associate with Beirut is traffic. There's no lanes on roads. There's always a lot of traffic on the road.
Here's the Aja. You really envy motorbikes here. This is very common.
Road rules are just not put in place the way they are in America. It's very common to see people running red lights. There's an accident like every 100 feet. People yelling outside the windows, cursing at each other, people honking. It's absolutely crazy.
2000.
Lebanon's also very famous for nightlife.
See, they're in the street.
Yeah, here we go.
That's okay.
There's also these little side roads right next to what's the biggest mall in Beirut. There's these little side roads with these little shops next to this big urban, like, futuristic shopping mall.
That's a beautiful countryside.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Actually, it's not all like this.
It's not.
There are some pretty nice areas.
So yeah, that was this documentary thing that I made during my summer trip. Another reason that it's really close to me is because, like I said, I go there twice a year. We go to the same place. We do the same things. We see the same people. It's a long plane ride. And I really enjoyed my trip a lot more this time because I went to places that I'd never been before, and I saw people that I hadn't seen for like 10 years and I just stretched like what I usually did, and it really made the trip enjoyable for me. I tried not to be bored this time. I tried to really stretch what I did so that I could show good things to my audience, and that's what I got out of this documentary. The reason Lebanon is beautiful is because it endures a lot while maintaining its beauty. I hope that you kind of saw something a little bit different. Maybe it's different from what you kind of expected the country to be like. Hopefully you got something out of it. That's it.